Welcome to our journey through time as we explore the fascinating history of the Tour de France, one of the world's most prestigious sporting events. The roads of France have witnessed countless tales of triumph, tragedy, and human endurance since the race's inception over a century ago. As we pedal through the annals of cycling history, prepare to be transported to an era when bicycles were still considered novelties and newspapers used sporting events to boost their circulation. The Tour de France emerged during a time of great social and technological change when Europe was embracing modernity while still holding on to traditions of the past. This iconic race would eventually transcend its humble origins to become a global phenomenon that captures the imagination of millions each summer. The story begins in 1903 during a period of intense rivalry between French sports newspapers. L'Auto, a struggling publication led by editor Henri de Grange, was desperately seeking a way to outshine its competitor, Le Vélo. The concept for an unprecedented cycling race around France came from journalist Géo Lefebvre during a lunch. Meeting with de Grange, the ambitious idea was to create a race so challenging and spectacular that it would capture public attention and boost the newspaper's circulation. This audacious plan was not just about creating a sporting competition, but rather a national spectacle that would showcase the beauty and diversity of the French landscape. The inaugural tour consisted of 6 grueling stages covering approximately 2,428 kilometers, 1,509 miles, with riders sometimes pedaling through the night to complete the demanding route. On July 1st, 1903, 60 brave cyclists gathered at the Café au Réveil Matin in the Parisian suburb of Montgeron to embark on this unprecedented adventure. These early competitors were not professional athletes as we understand them today, but rather working-class men seeking glory and the substantial prize money offered. They rode heavy steel-framed bicycles without gears, navigating poorly maintained roads through challenging terrain. The conditions these pioneers faced were almost unimaginable by modern standards, with stages sometimes lasting more than 24 hours without support vehicles or teams. Despite these hardships, Maurice Garin emerged as the first champion, finishing the race with a lead of nearly 3 hours over his closest competitor. His victory captured the imagination of the French public and established the Tour as an extraordinary test of human endurance and determination. The success of the inaugural race exceeded all expectations, with lotto circulation increasing substantially. The competition quickly became an annual tradition, growing in size, complexity, and prestige with each passing year. However, the early tours were not without controversy. The second edition in 1904 was marred by widespread cheating, with riders taking shortcuts, accepting illegal assistance, and even boarding trains to complete portions of the route. When the dust settled, Maurice Garin and the next 3 finishers were disqualified for various infractions, highlighting the difficulties of organizing such an extensive race in that era. Despite these growing pains, the Tour persevered and gradually evolved into a more structured and regulated competition. The introduction of the iconic yellow jersey in 1919 meant to make the race leader easily identifiable, created one of sport's most recognizable symbols, and added another layer of prestige to the event. World wars and political tensions temporarily halted the Tour's progress, with no races held during either World War I or World War II. Yet each time, the competition returned stronger than before, serving as a symbol of renewal and national identity for a recovering France. The post-war era saw the race expand beyond French borders, including stages in neighboring countries, and eventually becoming truly international in terms of both route and participation. What began as a publicity stunt for a struggling newspaper transformed into a cultural institution that transcends sport. The early pioneers of the Tour could hardly have imagined how their grueling journey around France would evolve into one of the world's most watched sporting events, with a rich history filled with legendary characters, epic battles, and unforgettable moments of human achievement against seemingly impossible odds. As the Tour de France entered the mid-20th century, it began to take on a more recognizable modern format. The decades following World War II witnessed significant developments in the organization and structure of the race. The introduction of team systems replaced the earlier model, where riders competed primarily as individuals. These professional teams, often sponsored by bicycle manufacturers or other commercial enterprises, brought new tactical dimensions to the competition. Riders now work together with clear roles, with some serving as domestiques, servants who sacrificed their own chances to support their team leader. This era also saw the tour expand to 3 weeks in duration, settling into the format we recognize today with 21 stages including time trials, flat sprints, and the legendary mountain climbs that would come to define the race's character. The post-war period produced some of cycling's most iconic champions, whose names became synonymous with the Tour de France. The Italian Fausto Coppi, known as Il Campionissimo, champion of champions, won the Tour in 1949 and 1952, demonstrating remarkable climbing ability and an elegant riding style that captured public imagination. His rivalry with fellow Italian Gino Bartali divided fans and added drama to the race. The 1950s saw the emergence of the first great French post-war champion, Louison Bobet, who claimed 3 consecutive victories from 1953 to 1955. His success helped rebuild French cycling pride after years of foreign domination. However, it was the 1960s that produced perhaps the Tour's most beloved champion, Jacques Anquetil. The sophisticated Frenchman revolutionized time trialing and became the first rider to win 5 tours, establishing a mark that seemed unbreakable at the time. The greatest rivalry in Tour history emerged in the 1960s, when Raymond Poulidor, affectionately nicknamed the Eternal Second, challenged Anquetil's dominance. Despite never wearing the yellow jersey or winning the Tour, Poulidor's fighting spirit and repeated near misses endeared him to French fans. By the 1970s, the Tour had truly become a global sporting event, broadcast internationally and attracting racers from beyond the traditional European cycling powers. Eddy Merckx emerged as the most dominant force in cycling history during this period. The Belgian champion, nicknamed the Cannibal for his insatiable hunger for victories, matched Anquetil's 5 Tour wins, while demonstrating unprecedented versatility, winning mountain stages, time trials, and sprints with equal authority. His complete dominance of the 1969 Tour, where he won the overall classification, mountains classification, and points classification, stands as one of the most remarkable performances in sports history. As the 1980s approached, the Tour continued to evolve with technological innovations transforming the sport. Lightweight materials replaced traditional steel frames, while advanced gear systems and aerodynamic designs pushed speeds ever higher. Bernard Hinault, known as the Badger for his tenacity, emerged as France's next great champion, claiming 5 Tour victories between 1978 and 1985. His fierce competitiveness and occasional confrontations with race organizers, journalists, and even teammates added color to the race's narrative. The American Greg LeMond made history in 1986 as the first non-European winner, ushering in a new era of global competition. His dramatic victory in 1989, where he overcame a 50-second deficit to Laurent Fignon in the final time trial to win, by just 8 seconds, remains the closest finish in Tour history and demonstrated the race's capacity for creating unforgettable sporting moments. The introduction of new climbing challenges transformed the character of the race throughout these decades. Legendary mountain passes such as Alpe d'Huez with its 21 hairpin turns, the formidable Col du Tourmalet in the Pyrenees, and Mont Ventoux with its barren, moon-like summit landscape became iconic battlegrounds where Tours were won and lost. These mountain stages created some of the most dramatic moments in cycling history, with riders pushing themselves to the absolute limits of human endurance. The mountains also gave rise to climbing specialists like Federico Bahamontes, the Eagle of Toledo, and Charlie Gall, the Angel of the Mountains, whose exploits on the steepest gradients became the stuff of cycling legend. Beyond the physical challenge, these mountain stages offered spectacular television footage that showcased the natural beauty of the French landscape, further enhancing the Tour's appeal to global audiences who were increasingly able to follow the race through improved broadcast technology. The organizational structure of the Tour also evolved significantly during this period under the leadership of Jacques Godet, who succeeded Henri de Grange and later Jean-Marie Leblanc. The race became more commercialized with corporate sponsorships, playing an increasingly important role in financing the event. The caravan, a parade of sponsor vehicles preceding the racers and distributing promotional items to spectators, became an integral part of the Tour experience. Prize money increased substantially, attracting the world's best cyclists and raising the professional status of the sport. The Tour also began to consciously cultivate its traditions and history, celebrating milestone anniversaries with special routes and commemorations. By the late 20th century, the Tour de France had transformed from a primarily French sporting event into a global phenomenon, with an estimated annual television audience in the hundreds of millions. What began as a publicity stunt for a newspaper had become one of the world's most recognizable sporting events with cultural significance extending far beyond the realm of cycling. The Tour de France holds a treasure trove of fascinating traditions and quirky facts that have developed over its century-plus history. Perhaps the most iconic symbol of the race is the maillot jaune, or yellow jersey, worn by the overall leader. This distinctive garment originated in 1919 when race organizers wanted to make the leader easily identifiable for spectators. The yellow color was chosen because L'Auto, the newspaper that created the Tour, was printed on yellow paper. This simple innovation created one of sport's most coveted prizes. Beyond the yellow jersey, a complete ecosystem of colored jerseys emerged over the decades. The polka dot jersey, introduced in 1975, recognizes the best climber, or king of the Yamilits, mountains, while the green jersey rewards the most consistent finisher across all stages, typically favoring sprinters. The white jersey, added in 1975, honors the best young rider under 26 years of age. Together, these colorful garments create a visual language that helps spectators understand the multiple competitions occurring simultaneously within the larger race. The Tour's relationship with food and drink reveals much about its cultural significance in France. The feed zones, where riders collect musettes, small bags, filled with food and drink, evolved from the early days when racers would stop at cafes and restaurants along the route. These feeding stations became standardized to ensure fair competition, while addressing the enormous caloric needs of riders, who might burn 6,000 to 8,000 calories daily during the race. Riders of the modern era must carefully monitor their nutrition, consuming specialized energy gels and drinks, a far cry from the early competitors who might fortify themselves with wine and cigarettes. The importance of food extends to the race's traditions, with the last stage traditionally featuring a celebratory atmosphere, where the overall winner might sip champagne while riding. This final stage has become a procession into Paris, followed by sprint circuits on the Champs-Élysées, a format that dates only to 1975, but now seems an inseparable part of the Tour's identity. The statistical records of the Tour present numerous remarkable achievements and oddities. The longest tour in history was the 1926 edition, covering an almost unimaginable 5,745 kilometers with only 17 stages, meaning riders averaged over 300 kilometers per day. Stages in this era could last more than 18 hours, with competitors cycling through the night on primitive roads. At the other extreme, the shortest regular stage was just 5.5 kilometers, a time trial in Nice during the 1988 Tour. The varying terrain of France has produced wildly different average speeds throughout history, from Maurice Garin's winning pace of 25.7 kilometers per hour in 1903 to modern averages exceeding 40 kilometers per hour. The record for the most stage wins belongs to Mark Cavendish, who tied Eddie Merckx's long-standing record of 34 stage victories in 2021. Perhaps the most extraordinary individual Tour performance came from Eddie Merckx in 1969, who won the general classification, points classification, mountains classification, and the combativity award, a level of dominance never repeated. The cultural impact of the Tour extends far beyond the realm of sport. The race has inspired countless books, films, and songs, becoming a fixture in French culture and increasingly in global sporting consciousness. For many French villages and towns, hosting a stage start or finish represents a major honor and opportunity to showcase local heritage to a worldwide audience. The economic impact is substantial, with the studies suggesting that hosting a stage can generate significant tourism revenue, both during the event and in subsequent years. The traveling festival atmosphere created by the tour, with the sponsor caravan, preceding the riders and distributing souvenirs to spectators, creates a unique celebratory environment. For 3 weeks each July, the race dominates French media and conversation, temporarily uniting regions with distinct cultural identities through this shared national passion. Perhaps most remarkably, the tour has remained relevant through dramatic, societal changes, adapting from an era of newspaper dominance to radio, television, and now digital media without losing its essential character. Despite its celebrated status, the tour has weathered numerous controversies throughout its history. The earliest races were plagued by cheating scandals, with riders taking trains or getting towed by cars to gain advantages. The most significant modern challenge came from widespread doping practices that threatened the race's credibility. The late 1990s and early 2000s saw numerous doping scandals, culminating in the 1998 Festina affair, when a team soigneur was caught with performance-enhancing drugs, leading to police raids and team withdrawals. The subsequent era, dominated by Lance Armstrong's unprecedented 7 consecutive victories, ended in controversy when those titles were stripped following a doping investigation. These challenges forced the tour to implement increasingly sophisticated, anti-doping measures while confronting the sport's troubled relationship with performance enhancement. Despite these controversies, the race has demonstrated remarkable resilience, with viewership and public interest remaining strong. This endurance speaks to something fundamental about the tour's appeal that transcends individual competitors, or eras. The combination of extreme physical challenge, scenic beauty, tactical complexity, and rich history continues to captivate audiences worldwide. The Tour de France's influence extends far beyond the boundaries of sport, shaping cultural perceptions of cycling and helping define France's image globally. The race has fundamentally altered how the bicycle is viewed, elevating it from mere transportation to a symbol of human achievement and endurance. When the tour passes through a village or region, it brings with it international attention and prestige, showcasing local landscapes and architecture to viewers worldwide. This exposure has been instrumental in promoting tourism throughout France, with many fans planning vacations around visiting iconic climbs or stage towns they first discovered while watching the race. The economic impact of the tour extends beyond tourism revenue to include substantial sponsorship deals, television rights, and merchandising, making it one of the most commercially successful annual sporting events globally. For the host country, the race serves as a 3-week showcase of French geography, culture, and organizational capability, becoming an unofficial ambassador for the nation. The technical innovations driven by tour competition have revolutionized bicycle design and eventually filtered down to consumer products. The intense competition spurred development of lightweight frames, from the early steel designs to modern carbon fiber composites. Aerodynamic innovations originally created for time trials have transformed road racing equipment. Electronic shifting systems, disc brakes, and power meters have all been refined through tour application before becoming available to recreational cyclists. Beyond equipment, training methodologies developed for tour riders have influenced fitness approaches across multiple sports, with concepts like periodization, altitude training, and nutrition protocols pioneered or perfected in preparation for cycling's greatest challenge. The race has also influenced transportation policy in many countries, with the spectacle of the tour inspiring interest in cycling infrastructure and bike-friendly urban planning. The visibility of professional cycling has contributed to increased participation in recreational cycling with corresponding public health benefits. The human stories emerging from over a century of tour competition provide a lens through which we can view broader societal changes. The early working-class heroes, who competed primarily for prize money, have given way to sophisticated athlete celebrities. With personal brands and social media followings, the international composition of the peloton reflects changing global dynamics, from European dominance to the emergence of competitors from Australia, North and South America, and increasingly from Africa and Asia. The race has also reflected geopolitical tensions throughout its history, From the absence of German riders after World Wars to Cold War rivalries expressed through East-West competition, more recently, the Tour has grappled with questions of inclusion and diversity, with efforts to expand women's participation in cycling's biggest events. The addition of the Tour de France Femmes in 2022 marked an important step in addressing the historical gender imbalance in professional cycling, though considerable disparities remain in prize money, course length, and media coverage. As we conclude our journey through the remarkable history of the Tour de France, we can reflect on how this sporting event has transcended its origins to become a cultural institution. What began as a publicity stunt for a struggling newspaper has evolved into an annual celebration of human potential that commands global attention. The yellow jersey, once a simple, practical solution for identifying the race leader, now represents one of the most coveted prizes in all of sport. The roads of France continue to witness extraordinary feats of endurance and determination each July, building upon a tradition that connects modern competitors with those pioneers who first circumnavigated France on two wheels. Despite numerous challenges throughout its history, from world wars to doping scandals, the Tour has demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability. This enduring appeal speaks to something fundamental in the competition's character: the combination of individual struggle against enormous physical challenges, set against the backdrop of France's diverse and beautiful landscape, creates a compelling narrative that continues to resonate with each new generation of fans. The legacy of the Tour extends far beyond the record books, influencing everything from bicycle design to urban planning, tourism patterns to media coverage of endurance sports. For 3 weeks each summer, this traveling festival transforms the French countryside, bringing communities together in celebration of cycling's greatest spectacle. Roadside fans may wait hours for just a glimpse of the peloton speeding past. Yet this brief moment of connection with the race has become an integral part of summer traditions for many. The Tour has also established itself as an important economic engine, generating substantial revenue through sponsorships, broadcasting, rights, and tourism. While the commercial aspects have grown dramatically from the modest beginnings in 1903, the essential character of the race remains focused on the extraordinary challenge it presents to competitors. The magnificent suffering of cyclists on legendary mountain passes like Alpe d'Huez, Mont Ventoux, and Col de Tourmalet continues to create the indelible moments that define the Tour's mythology and ensure its place in sporting history.